Stamper's Kim from StampingImperfection.com. Thanks for joining me today. I want to share a few of my favorite tools, some I've had for a while and some I just discovered this year. This is an old favorite. This is the Ranger Craft Mat, and if you don't have one of these non-stick mats protecting your crafting surface, you should get one. It is fantastic. The one that you're looking at right now is my second one. I treated myself to a new one this year. I didn't really have a good reason other than I just wanted a cleaner, nicer looking one for the videos. The folded up one is my old one, which I've had for well over 10 years. I love this craft mat, and like, you can do everything on it. I love it because I can smush inks on, spritz it with water, and I have a watercolor palette. I can do a project with hot glue. I can put hot glue on it. The hot glue won't damage it, and it just peels off when I'm done. No matter how much glue or what kind of glue or adhesive I'm using, it just wipes right off that surface. And it's just great. The only thing I can't do on that surface is cut. I can't use a craft knife or a rotary cutter on it because that will damage it. Now, this is my old one, and it is a little wrinkly because I folded it up when I got the new one. Those wrinkles will go away. I really should have rolled it instead of folded it, but you can see that this is a well-loved craft mat. It has some stains on it, which I never was too concerned about. The whole point was being creative and making stains, so I love this thing. And this will go on my other craft table. Sometimes I like to craft in front of the TV, so I'll put this over there, and this will continue to be used. You can see it's in great shape, with the exception of a few stains, and you know that happens when you craft. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this. You can just do everything on it, and it's such a great surface to craft on because if you get ink on it, you can just wipe it off. You know, you can use alcohol to clean it off, baby wipes, you can use water. It just cleans right off beautifully. So I know other companies have non-stick craft mats. I can't speak to those because I don't have those. I didn't need them. I had this one, and it has been amazing. So like I said, I treated myself to a new one this year just so I had a nice shiny surface or nice clean surface to use for my videos, but I really had no reason to purchase that. The other thing too that I think every craft space should have is a self-healing mat. I have probably 3 or 4 of these around because I do like to use a craft knife to trim things or a rotary cutter, and this is a perfect surface to do that. You don't want to cut on that Teflon or that non-stick mat, but having, you know, that just rolls away, and you can then have your mat, your self-healing mat below to cut on. My very favorite purchase of 2018 is the Altenew Mini Blossom die cut machine. Like, I love this little machine. They came out with it earlier this year, I think. I can't remember exactly when they came out with it, but I purchased it as soon as they came out with it. I think it's $49. I felt like the price point was pretty good, and I thought it was so pretty. And as I recall, when they brought it out, they had it on sale. Altenew is really good about having sales and coupon codes or free shipping, depending on, you know, if you have a qualifying purchase. So I love shopping with Altenew. This year was their 4th anniversary. They sent all of their customers a personalized stamp set, like with my name in a stamp. It was beautiful. But this little tool has been my favorite purchase because it's so handy. I have my Big Shot. I have a little cutting station on the other side of my room where I have my Big Shot, my Cricut maker. I have it on top of a self-healing mat. I store all my dies over there, and you know, I have a cutting station. But it's so nice to have this little die cutter on my craft table, and I keep it right on top. I have a Stamp and Storage ink holder, and the top acts like a shelf, so this sits right on that shelf. So whenever I need to do a little, like I've created something and I just want to die cut it out, I can use this little die cutter. As long as the dies are less than 3 inches wide, this works beautifully. For the larger things, for the big shapes and the the layered shapes and things like that, I have to use my larger Big Shot, but this is perfect for the small stuff. It comes with 2 plates. It has one plate that's really thick. That's what I use as my bottom cutting plate. And I put my paper on that, and then I put the Thinlits dies on top, and that's the cutting surface, and the thinner plate goes on top. I love this. I've been using this now since I got it. Like every single day I pull this out, and these plates have not warped at all. Like with my larger Big Shot, that's actually an issue, the warping plates. Like I really struggle to keep them flat and have to flip them over and worry about what side I'm using. These I don't have to. I really have had no issues with these whatsoever, and I just love this little tool. I can't tell you how much I reach for this, and it's just so handy to have this little die cutting machine on my desk. And I think they did a beautiful job just designing something that looks pretty sitting on your craft table or sitting on the shelf next to your craft table. Like I think this was one of the prettiest little things that I've ever purchased, the tool-wise. So just love it. It's a huge hit for me from Altenew for 2018, my favorite thing. And the other thing too is another super find for me was the Catherine Pooler Designs clear blocks. If you have not tried Catherine Pooler inks, or Altenew inks for that matter, you must. But check out the stuff Catherine Pooler has. She's got a set of clear blocks that I think are amazing. I love these clear blocks. She took all the best things from other companies' clear blocks and incorporated them into her own, and then added that grid on top. These are the sizes she has. She just came out with that large background stamp. She's got this nice rectangle, and then there's a longer rectangle and a shorter rectangle, which is perfect for sentiments. But see how thick those plates are? And they have a little indent that your hand fits nicely in. The edges of these clear blocks are rounded, which I love, because sometimes clear blocks have sharp edges, and I never understand that. I've got to hold that. I love that there's the indent for my fingers, and I love that the edges are rounded. But for me, the real genius is and how thick that is. It's so comfortable in your hand. But the real genius, as far as I'm concerned, is that grid on top. That grid is etched on, and I love, love, love having a grid. It just makes stuff easy to line up. Why isn't everybody doing that? That grid makes them amazing. Absolutely amazing. One other little clear block I have is from Gina K, and it's also got an indent. I like this for alphabet stamps especially, or bigger sentiments. I love this for using alphabet stamps for titles on my scrapbook page. Like this is a perfect sentiment or title clear block, and this is from Gina K Designs. Love it, love it, love it. Then the other thing that I have just been using so much this year that I didn't really use before is my MISTI stamp positioner. I started out with that little mini MISTI because it felt like an expensive thing, and I wasn't sure how much I'd use it. So I started with the little mini MISTI, and I got the little one. This is a good size for a card front, and I probably grabbed this. I definitely grabbed this one way more than I grabbed the one underneath it. The larger one is the original MISTI, but I love this little one for stamping sentiments on the front of my cards, or for doing almost all stamping on the front of my cards. And I think that the ability to be able to stamp a sentiment more than once and get it perfectly aligned is amazing, because I think that takes your cards to the next level when your sentiment can be stamped so that it's really dark and crisp and clear, and you can stamp it multiple times to make it just perfect. I think that really takes your cards to the next level. So it's to have the ability to keep things lined up, allows you to mass produce cards. Like I have that sentiment sitting in there because I'm going to use it. I'm mass producing my Christmas cards, and that's perfectly placed for the design of my card. So I love that I have the ability to do that. And the Mini MISTI has been a great purchase, but I loved it so much. And there's one limiting factor. Like the one thing that I wanted to be able to do that I can't do with the Mini MISTI is sometimes I take big stamps, or I like to hang my stamps off the edge of the card and stamp just part of the stamp onto the card front. And you can't really do that with the Mini MISTI. You need more space to do that. So that was why I decided to go ahead and purchase the original MISTI. And with the original MISTI, I have the ability to like really place stamps so that they aren't necessarily sitting on the card front, and it has a little bit more room to do that kind of stuff. So the MISTI comes with some super strong magnets that you want to keep apart. I've heard that they can break if they snap together too hard. I have not had that happen, but one tip that I got from someone was to use glitter washi tape instead of regular washi tape, because it gives you a nice tail. And notice I've made a tail on each one of those. It gives you a nice tail to hang on to, and the glitter washi tape is much stronger. So you can see the difference in size between the two MISTIs. And I've created a little grid that I laminated for the inside. I find that very useful with my MISTIs. And the one other thing that I did purchase, because I love to scrapbook, I got money from my mom for my birthday, and this was on sale. So I got myself, now they have this larger MISTI for scrapbooking, and I do love to stamp in my scrapbooks. This holds a 12 by 12 sheet of paper with room left over. I like to make my own background papers and use repeating patterns, and I love to stamp my titles because I think it's a huge money saver to stamp a title rather than to buy a bunch of stickers. So I really love this. I don't think you should purchase it unless you do a lot of stamping on 12 by 12 paper, but it's a great tool if you are a scrapbooker. So the next thing I really like, and this has an actually really good price point. It's not an expensive item. It's the Tim Holtz Distress Sprayer. I don't have, my craft room is in the basement, and I don't have a sink or anything down here yet. And I love this little thing. This actually saves me a lot of trips up and down the stairs. I love that you can press down that sprayer a little bit and get a nice little mist of small dots, and then you can give it a full spritz and get larger drops of water. If you do any ink blending at all and like to have those drops of water or that distressed effect, this is a beautiful thing. I also use it to fill my aqua painters and to fill my little mini MISTIs when I'm making my my own shimmer sprays from Perfect Pearls or products like that. And I also use it to just rinse off. I just spritz my craft mat and wipe off my craft mat when I'm done. So this little sprayer is amazing. It's just perfect for adding fun effects on your cards and for cleaning up and doing all kinds of things. So if you don't have one of these, this is one of those things to keep in mind. Put on your list when you need a few dollars to push your order over to get free shipping. Add this to your cart. It's a great thing. Another thing that since I'm talking about Ranger things here, I really like the blending tools that they have. These little circular foam pieces with the handles. And I thought, I'm going to need one of those for every color, but you really don't. You could get away with 2 of these. I probably have 6 of them or maybe 8 of them. I purchased a few before I really played with them a lot, thinking that I would need more than I do. Those handles are interchangeable, and the foam stores beautifully on the underside of your ink pads, or you can slide it into like coin pocket pages, and they really store beautifully. I just have a different piece of foam for all the colors that I use, all the different ink colors that I tend to use for blending, and that's just like Velcro on the bottom of the blender, and I put a little piece of Velcro on the bottom of my ink pads, of the ones that have a thick enough bottom to do that. Otherwise I store them in coin storage cases. But you really don't, you just need a couple of handles. It's the foam that you need more of. And then of course, you definitely have to have a good stamp scrubber. And now that I'm using my MISTI more, I definitely needed a stamp chamois or some way to clean the stamps while they're in the MISTI. This is the Nouveau stamp scrubber, and I really like how big this is. I think this is a wonderful tool for cleaning. I like that it's got the two scrubbers on two sides. I can wet one side with my stamp cleaner, and the other side I can use to like dry off and clean off I keep it dry, and I can then clean off the stamp after I use it on the wet side. The stamp chamois I store in this little thing. I'm not sure what this is. I think it's actually like a kitchen sponge scrub holder, or I thought somewhere I saw it called a salt container. This is the Lawn Fawn stamp chamois, and I really like this. I actually do throw this in my kitchen sink with some Dawn dish soap and wash it every couple of weeks. Every now and then I'll throw it in the washing machine and give it a good wash, but I store it in this little thing that when I was placing an order on Amazon for some watercolor paintbrushes and things like that, this popped up in other customers also purchased, and this has been a handy little thing to store this in, so that, you know, is useful because I needed a way to store it. And then it actually keeps when I keep it closed, it actually keeps that stamp chamois wet for several days, which is nice because I don't have a sink nearby, so that's useful. So, you know, good things to clean your stamps with are important things for your room. And that includes, I really like the new microfiber cloths. I have some old dishcloths that I use, and I just got a few microfiber cloths. I got this one from Ink on 3 when I bought their fade out ink, and these were just a couple of bucks, but they really soak up a lot of messes on my craft table. And Brutus Monroe has a nice one also. So this is a handy little thing, you know. You spritz your craft mat down, wipe it off. I use this to wipe my paintbrushes on. Like, I really have used this a lot, and it doesn't look it. And then, of course, you need some good trimmers. So when we moved, my Stampin' Up! Trimmer got damaged, and it was warped a little bit from the move. So I decided to see what other kind of trimmers are out there, and I purchased 2. I really like this Tim Holtz Tonic guillotine trimmer. I like that it's got the numbers along the top and the bottom. I like that it's got the 1/4 inch grid that's very easy to see. I like that it's got that big plastic piece that I can slide my project under and hold down. So it gives me lots of room to hold it and keep my fingers out of the way of the cutting blade. And I like this especially for trimming small pieces of paper for sentiments. It's really easy to, like, if you need to trim just a smidge off the edge, that's actually the perfect trimmer to do that. And it's just that size, so it fits well on my desk. Then I purchased a Fiskars trimmer, and I really like this trimmer. I wish it also had a scoring blade. I miss that I don't have a trimmer that's a trimmer and a scoring tool, because that's very handy. But I love that this one has such great dark measuring lines. I think it's so much easier to see when it's like that. It's got the inches along the side of the arm there, which locks and unlocks. It's got a little bit of a measuring piece on the right hand side of the trimmer. It's got about a good 6.5 inches on the left side, so it's a nice wide platform. And then of course the arm comes out, and you can cut 12 by 12 papers. It actually is bigger than 12 by 12, and that just folds underneath. And then there are also numbers along the bottom, so they really have put the numbers, whether you like to measure from the top of the trimmer, the bottom of the trimmer, or whether you need to do some measuring along the actual cutting thing itself. It's also got a wire down the center of the trimmer blade, and you can see all the measurements, the pre-done measurements it's got marked on there. I don't really use those, but I'm sure other people do. So I just love how easy it is to read. I appreciate that they've taken into account. I also love how wide it is, and it's got nice rubber feet on the bottom so it doesn't slide around when I'm using it. So I really like that. I think it's just super handy, and I think it's a wonderful trimmer. Then, because it doesn't have a scoring blade, I needed to score, so I have my mini Scor-Buddy tool, my mini Scor-Buddy, and I like this. This is the small version. I have the larger version that my sister gave me for Christmas years ago that I use for big projects, but mostly I just need to score card bases at 4 1/4 or 5 1/2, so this works well, and it fits on my desk, and it sits next to my little mini MISTI right on my desk, and I reach for these two things all the time. It does come with a bone folder, which I don't really use. It's super thick. I actually find it a little hard to use. So instead I purchased a couple of Teflon bone folders, and I really like them. They have nice pointy tips that score beautifully in the Scor-Buddy. I also have my old stylus. I don't use that as much anymore. I tend to be too heavy-handed with that. But I love the Teflon bone folders. They're just really comfortable in your hand, and they don't leave white shiny spots on your cards, and they have that nice tapered tip for scoring the fold. Another thing I found that I needed, and I had trouble finding this actually, fine tip wire cutters. Because I'm buying dies from other companies, the die sets tend to come attached together, and I found that I needed to have wire cutters to actually clip them. I had a lot of trouble finding wire cutters that were thin enough. These are Xuron, Xuron, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. I got myself 2 pairs, one for sitting next to my on my craft table, and one for next to my Big Shot. But those are super fine tip wire cutters, so you can cut between those thinlits dies. Then I think you need some good rulers, and I have 2 that I love. I have a T ruler, and then I have Tim Holtz's Idea-ology ruler, and that's my favorite. The T ruler is super nice when you are doing grids. You can actually put the paper along, you can put that T part at the top of your paper, the edge of your paper, and then mark out your grids, and then you can go all the way down your paper, and you get really straight grids, and it's nice to be able to align that with the edge of your paper. I like it. I wish it was a little shorter, and I wish the numbers were a little darker, but you know what? It didn't even cost $3, and it's a handy tool to have. The really great one, though, is that, oh, and the other thing, too, I like that I can align it with that grid on my self-healing mat. That's useful, too. That's a useful thing to do with both of these rulers, in fact. But this Tim Holtz Idea-ology ruler is fabulous. I love that these are clear, also that you can see through, but look how dark the lines are on this, and look how big the numbers are. Thank you, Tim Holtz. I love that. I mean, it's amazing. And it's got nice bold 1/4 inch marks, and the one edge is tapered, which makes it really nice. That one edge is thick, nice for cutting. One edge is tapered, which makes it really nice to draw. Sometimes I want to draw a frame around something, and I don't want to have a squiggly line, I want a straight line. So that is a beautiful thing. But what I really love about that tapered edge is that it has the 0 in the middle. Like one side of the ruler goes from 1 inch to 11 inches, with obviously the 12 being the end of the ruler. But it's so easy to center sentiments and stuff, or center things, like on my scrapbook pages with this ruler, because the 0 is in the center of the ruler, and I can align things and center them around the center point of this ruler. I love it. And with it being tapered, I can actually put like my alphabet stickers on the edge and just line them all up and get them perfectly aligned, and then put them into my scrapbook while they're held lightly on that ruler. Beautiful thing. I also love Tim Holtz's non-stick scissors. I think I made Tim Holtz a much richer man this year, let me just tell you. I love these non-stick scissors. I have been using my Stampin' Up! Scissors for years, and I like their paper snips a lot. I got really used to using them, but I needed a new pair. These were getting kind of cruddy and they're not quite as sharp anymore. So I was trying to explore what else is out there, and I found these Tim Holtz scissors, and he's got them in all different sizes. So I got the two red-handled pairs. I just found the black ones. I don't know whether that's a new item or whether I just had never seen them before, but they have squishy rubber handles, which I like. They have a nice amount of space for you to put your fingers in, and those tips are really non-stick. Now that doesn't mean adhesive doesn't get attached to them. It does, but it does mean they're super easy to clean off when it does happen. So I really like that. So and I use all three of these. This middle pair is nice. I think these are actually my favorite ones for doing fussy cutting, believe it or not. But you'll notice I've got a little adhesive on them, and because I'm always like forgetting or needing to trim off something that's got a little adhesive, and I never grab the adhesive scissors, but now I can take this adhesive remover, and you've got to keep your fingers away from those blades. Those are sharp blades. But I can just basically use that adhesive remover and wipe the adhesive off the blades, and they're just so easy to clean. Like, I don't have to do any scrubbing. I don't want my fingers near those blades. I'm a klutz, so I hold that adhesive remover eraser square there really high and just wipe it off. So simple. Good way to clean them up. And then those big black ones, they're just fantastic. Like I said, I just got those. I've been looking for a pair to replace my old Stampin' Up! Ones because Stampin' Up! Stopped carrying the larger ones. These are gigantic. Also have nice handles. They also are the squishy handles, which I like. And so I have a couple pairs of these around the house. They cut beautifully. My husband loves those. Then that little adhesive remover square. This is not a new item. This little adhesive remover I use constantly. I'm a klutz with adhesive. I tend to get it all over the front of my card. And this just, it's not technically an eraser, but you just rub it over the adhesive that you have stuck places and it removes it. And then when it gets grungy, you just trim off the cruddy edges, and it's like you have a new one again. So it's really nice. And it does get smaller as you cut pieces off, but look, I've had that for like 6 years. It's amazing. Then I found, this was another one of those items that other customers who were purchasing these items also purchased this. I think the name is Epicurean. I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly. It's actually a cutting board, but what I use it to hold my watercolor projects. I use it to hold, yesterday I did a video and I used it to hold the, I was making some card fronts with Yupo paper and alcohol inks, and that I needed to put it aside while it dried. Or if I use my Nuvo drops and I need to put them aside to dry, I use this. I put them on this. I love that it has a handle. Really, any hard board would do for this, but I love that this has a handle. I just really like this. Like, I really think that was a lucky find, and I recommend having something like that at your craft desk. Then I do have a few favorite pens and erasers that I actually discovered this year, with the exception of the Flair pen that I'm about to show you. And actually, I think I discovered Wink of Stella a few years ago. This is a huge find. This is the Tombow Mono Sanded Eraser. This particular one has a sanded end and a rubber end. I've never used that rubber end. That sanded end, though, has got quite a bit of use. This is an item that's less than $3, and I just got one that's all sanded. It doesn't have a rubber end because I'm not going to use it anyway. But I use that to remove ink smudges on the front of my cards, and it doesn't take the paper off, so I really like that. So that cleans up those ink smudges I'm constantly getting on my cards. Then I have a mechanical pencil from Pentel that I love, and what the real thing is, I love that eraser. That high polymer eraser takes pencil marks off beautifully. You can't even see that you've sketched some pencil lines on. I have a few little pens that I got that I love. This is a Flair marker. I like to add details with markers and gel pens. I took a class called Beautiful Details, and we used these kinds of things to add a lot of details to colored projects and stuff. That's a Sharpie that's got a nice brush end. I like that in my journals for, pretty script and calligraphy. This is my favorite. My Copic multiliner. This is a 0.3 millimeter black multiliner. I love this in my journaling. I love that I can add teeny thin lines to like a leaf if I want to, or to a flower if I want to, or to put a frame around a card front or something. This is my favorite tool that I'm showing you here. Then I have this white gel pen. This is a Sakura Jelly Roll pen. This is my favorite jelly roll or jelly pen, and it just works beautifully. Again, you can add a lot of highlights and a lot of little details that add a special touch to your cards. The other thing that this is not new for me this year. Those other things are all things I recently discovered. I was using Wink of Stella, which I love. I love Wink of Stella, but these are also good. One is Spectrum Noir, and the other is Nuvo Aqua Shimmer. So between Wink of Stella, Spectrum Noir, and the Aqua Shimmer, these add beautiful sparkly details to your cards. Now that I have these, I use them all the time. Like I'll go over a sentiment and it'll add some sparkle. Or I'll go over leaves and to add some sparkle. I love those. Probably my favorite little tool though is the We Are Memory Keeper Quick Stick. Excuse me. This is to use for sequins. I never used sequins before I got this tool because they were a pain in the neck to put on. So I like this. It's got clay. It's like this clay stuff on one end, and that's what I pick up the sequins with. Then it's got this piece that pulls out that's got a pointy end, which is perfect when you're putting something down in a pile of glue, and then you can hold it down with that pointy end. The other end is a tapered end, and that's actually kind of nice for removing something, like if you want to separate two pieces of cardstock or something that has adhesive on it, or if you want to lift a sequin that you just put down that's got adhesive on it or something, or a die cut that needs to be removed. Like, that's a handy little tool. Both ends are handy. It's actually also got some slots in there. I have zero idea what those slots are for. I recently noticed them. I'm sure they have a purpose. I have not discovered it yet. I love this tool. I've had this for a year and I have not run out of clay, and I use it every single day. I'm assuming at some point that clay will stop coming out when I turn it, and I'll have to replace this, and I'll be replacing it with the exact same thing because I really like it. I think it's a handy, handy, handy tool. I also think that a good paintbrush set is nice. I had a set that when I first started watercoloring called Keep Smilin', and I really wore these brushes, those particular brushes out this year, so I was looking for a new set, and I wanted something with a shorter handle because the other set I had a huge long handle on the brushes. So I found this Nuvo set on sale and decided I would check it out, and I kind of like these. I used to use a lot of aqua pens, and I still do, but I really like having a paintbrush set. I like having a variety of sizes of round brushes and a variety of sizes of the flat brushes. So this is kind of a nice sort of get started set. And I have a bunch of other little tools that I got. I actually got a Tonic Nouveau kit from the Hedgehog Hollow this year that I purchased, and it had some interesting little tools in it. One of them was this Nouveau scoop. It's got these little scoop ends, and I don't use this a ton, but I do use it for glitter and for I can't think of the word, embossing powder, perfect pearls when I want just a little bit. Like, those are nice little scoops to have. So I don't reach for it every day, but I'm glad I have it in my tool cup because I do use it, and it's nice when you need just a little bit, and you know, you want to scoop out some perfect pearls, put it on your craft mat, spritz it with water, mix it up, and now you've got shimmery water that you can use in your watercolor project. A palette knife is also useful. This actually came in a set of 3. This is just a plastic one. Probably a plastic knife would work just as well, but I like having this. I have discovered shimmer paste and texture paste, and I like to use those with stencils and embossing mousse, so it's nice to have a palette knife on your craft table. So like, that's a nice little thing. Then this is another thing that came in that kit, and this is a Tonic paper piercer. I like this because it retracts. I think that that's a kind of brilliant idea. I also have a craft knife made by Tonic that also retracts, and there's a distressing tool that does that also. Then of course, tweezers. The silver ones I've had forever. Having a really fine tipped pair of tweezers is very useful, and sometimes I like that they don't lock, that I hold them shut. The locking ones, sometimes my fingers hurt a lot and I can't always squeeze them well enough, but I love that those lock. Like, sometimes I want to do something where I just want to hold on to it and I don't want to have to keep squeezing it, so that's really handy. So like, a good pair of tweezers, and those pointy fine tip tweezers are really nice. So I like that I have one pair that locks and one pair that doesn't, because on different days I have different needs. So I like those 2 tools. I reach for quite a bit. So I hope you're finding this useful. I'd love to know what your favorite tools are so I can start putting some new things on my wish list for 2019. Thanks for watching. Give this video a like, share with your friends. Stop by my blog at Stamping Imperfection, and make sure you subscribe to my channel and sign up for my blog updates. Thanks for watching.